I think your experiences are so unique, and I'm really excited to hear all about them. So, we have a few questions prepared for our guests today, questions that we think might be important for potential international students like you. But if you're watching this and want to ask them a specific question, please ask us in the comments below, and I will ask either Mifra or Kimsa to answer it for us. Okay, so let's start with our first question. I'm sure something I've also been an international student, and this is something that was on my mind before I moved to a different country. Um, is it difficult to settle or become accustomed to a new country? And if so, what was it that helped you out? So, either of you can start. I'm going to leave that open for you guys.
Sure, I can start. Yeah, so I would say that it definitely was difficult, especially personally for me. It was my first time moving to a new country all by myself. I've always lived with my family. So it was just a really totally new experience. And I think also because I've never lived away from home, there are lots of things I didn't really know how to do yet, like, starting doing laundry or something like that, very simple daily tasks. But what I found helpful was just reaching out to people, creating a support group with friends, and also reaching out to advisors from my university, just asking questions.
So, great idea. I never thought of reaching out to advisors, but when you said reaching out to like people and then support groups, what were you talking about? Like, could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, of course. What I meant by that is just, for example, joining student organizations. And from there, I created a group of friends that I could always reach out to. So mainly friends. Yeah.
Sounds great. So Mifra, do you have something you wanted to share as well?
For sure. Similar to Kimsa, I've lived in Bangladesh for about 17 years of my life at that point. So when I came to Canada, it was very new for me. Laundry was new, so was trying to cook my own meals and trying to figure out how to do grocery by myself. So um, I did the same thing as Kimsa. I tried to make friends who I reached out to. I joined the Bangladesh Students Association, where I met people from Bangladesh who were seniors who I could reach out to, who had similar experiences as I did a couple of years earlier. So overall, I would say reaching out to people, being open to talking with people who are seniors, and also to reaching out to your residence advisors is a very important thing to do, and will that definitely help you transition better from your home country to Canada for sure.
Sounds great. And one thing that just popped up in my head is that Canada is so diverse. So there is a good chance you will find people within your own community, like Mifra was talking about a Bangladesh social club or anything like that. But if you don't, you can also just join another, support group. It can just be about creative writing. It can be about drama. Just being part of a smaller community really helps you, put your foot on the ground and get going. So thank you for that. I'm going to continue on the same vein. After you came here and after you settled in a little bit, what was your experience as an international student in Canada as opposed to regular students in Canada? Who wants to take this?
I, I can go.
Okay.
I think for me personally, I didn't feel a super big difference in the way that, you kind of mentioned that it was super diverse already and it was so easy to find people that relate to you. And I think going to UBC as well, it's one of the most international universities. So it's easy to find students who have these different backgrounds that you can easily talk to about and connect with. So for me, it wasn't that different. So I think I'm really lucky and grateful in that sense that I get to study in Canada because I felt like I belonged all the time since day one.
Oh, that is such a nice thing to say. I'm sure that a lot of people watching back home will feel a little better after hearing you. Mifra, did you wanted to share something?
Yeah, for sure. Similar to Kimsa, again, when I was coming to UBC, I knew a couple of people who came from my high school. So I reached out to them because they were in second year and third year at that time. So it was easy for me to communicate with them and ask them their advice on courses, how to navigate my, say, my meal plans, or how to just sort of help me transition better into the daily life of Vancouver at that time. Again, as everyone knows like UBC is extremely diverse. It's one of the most diverse universities in Canada. So it was very easy to find people who you could connect with, because I feel like if you have any particular interest, you could find a group or a niche which would align with that. So in that sense, I would say that I had a pretty good transition from my home country to UBC because of the level of diversity and inclusivity that UBC has. So from my personal experience, it was very positive.
Perfect. That is really good information. And so again, continuing on the same line of experiences, what did you discover about yourself living and studying in Canada? And I'm going to ask Mifra to start this time.
For sure. That's a great question. And that's one of the questions that I ask myself even today. And it's been almost 4.5 years since I've been in Canada. And obviously, things change as the years go on. You learn more about yourself. But initially, in my first year, my biggest challenge was to definitely understand how to manage my time the best way possible. Because when you're coming from a country where you're living with your family, it is very much structured around like your family life and how to navigate your high school. And it's very structured, and it's something you've done for like a very long period of time, like for at least 10, 12 years of high school, middle school, etc. So coming to university, it was a big transition because I had to learn how to balance my social life, my friends, my laundry time, my meal planning time, my obviously my education, because that's like I wanted to get the best grades possible. So time management was my biggest challenge. And after I would not lie and say that I had that all figured out at the beginning. It took me about 3 or 4 months to really understand how to best navigate my own schedule and learn about myself the best way. So everyone is different that way for sure, but for me, I would say that really like going through the hurdles and challenges really made me understand how to best manage my time eventually. And I would say even 4.5 years later, I'm not perfect at it, but I definitely improved since my first year.
That's great. 4.5 years is a good practice amount. So that's really good. What about you, Kimsa?
Let's say, yeah, really similar to Mifra. Like that was a really tough thing for me as well. And I think another thing that I had to deal with, and I think it also came in waves, was homesickness. Just because, you leave home and like your friends are there and your family is there, and the thing is you can always visit, but then you always experience that homesickness when you come back, because it's like flying home, coming back. There's that up and down. But I think as you continue your years in university, you keep building your support group, and I keep talking about that. Like, I think that's really helpful. You can rely on people. That's also something I learned in university, just to reach out whenever you need help. Like, that's okay to be able to just say how you feel. I think that's also something I learned in university, and something that really helped me with my homesick. So yeah, like that's something I'm still dealing with, obviously, because I'm still living away from home, but something that is a great challenge and really helped with self-development.
I think what you just said is really important. Please definitely reach out. If you need help, don't think that it's awkward or you're feeling shy. Just totally go for it. I'm sure a lot of people are there ready to help you. So we have a question from the audience, and I'm going to ask you, Kimsa, this question. Did you do a lot of research about Canada before you moved?
Yes, I am the type of person who really kind of wants to know what I'm getting myself into. But I do want to say that even though I did a lot of research, and I had this expectation of Canada, like I kind of went into it thinking that I knew what I was doing, and that's like really false. That's a false expectation, because there's so many things that just come to you. So I want to say that I did a lot of research, and I did think I kind of had my 4 or 5 years of university kind of planned out, knowing I thought I knew what I wanted to study. I added a major. I did things like that. I took courses that I never even thought about. So even though I did plan, like every single year, I'm going to do this, that never worked out in the end, and I think that was for the better. But yeah.
Perfect. So I hope that answered your question. Moving on. We'll go into a little more specific questions. For example, in general, I know you already touched upon this a little bit, but Mifra, you can answer this for me. Did you find that Canada is a safe and friendly country for international students?
That's a great question. I would say that Canada is definitely a safe and friendly place for international students. I can speak from my personal experiences. I coming back to this point again and again, but UBC is a very diverse and inclusive university. And for international students, at the beginning, when you're a freshman, there are various events in the first week of university where they try to connect you with people in your own residence area, as well as people in your majors, your faculties. So you get to meet people not only from your ethnicity, but from literally everywhere. So in that sense, you get the feel of that, the fact that you can really blend in and also just generally like just be yourself actually. So they don't want you to shy away from who you really are. So I would say that the fact that you can be yourself at a university like this really helped me feel very safe. So in that sense, I would say UBC is very safe. Canada in general is very safe to be in, and also a very friendly society, from my perspective.
Great. Thank you for that. And because this question, I find that would be something that everybody would like to know. I also want to know Kim's point of view.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I definitely touched upon this before. I 100% agree with everything that Mifra mentioned. I also felt like I belonged, and as mentioned, it's super diverse, not just in UBC, even though UBC is super diverse, like going out on the streets as well. I moved to a couple different neighborhoods during my time in university, and each time I felt safe and I felt like I found people that I connected to within the neighborhoods. And even going into different restaurants, and you can see by the diversity of restaurants in Vancouver that it is super diverse, and it is super easy to find things that relate to you and remind you of home. So that's super great.
No, that is a great point. So I've lived in like a few different countries, but when I came here, I'm from India and like I'm a vegetarian. When I came here, there are so many vegetarian options that are not just salads. It blew my mind. And I was like, okay, I can actually thrive and stay vegetarian here. So it was pretty cool. So not exactly what you're saying, but along the same lines. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go to our next question, but just before that, so you guys, BP Pandey and Joseph Thomas, you're asking about CAEL specifically, and we will be touching on CAEL scores and the CAEL test a little bit towards the end of this video. So I would urge you to stay with us, and we will also be talking specifically about the CAEL test and its components in the future episodes as well. So please subscribe to our channel and we will be able to help you. Okay, moving forward. Something that I think is important, especially in Canada, when packing luggage items, what should a person bring with themselves? Do you recommend buying winter wear at home or after they land? So Kimsa, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure, definitely. That is a great question, and that was a question I also asked before I moved. But I think personally for me, because I was moving from Vietnam, winter wear was just so much cheaper there, so that was just a budget thing. So that's the reason why I decided to pack winter wear from Vietnam and moved to Canada. But the thing is, like, if you don't have space as well, I realized coming here that Canada has sales all the time, and it's so easy to go out and just buy something, or you could just order to come to your place. Like, that's not a big deal at all. So I think, just pack the essentials, and you could leave like all the clothes later if necessary, but it really is up to you. It depends on your budget, and it also depends on what you need to bring.
What about you, Mifra?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, similar question I asked myself before coming here, but one difference from Vietnam and Bangladesh is that Bangladesh is like extremely hot. The lowest temperature it gets to is about, I would say, 10 to 12 degrees, even in winters. So there's like a very big lack of winter wear available in Bangladesh for the harsh winters in Canada. So if you're coming from a very hot country like Bangladesh, or in the Asian subcontinent of where the weather is warmer, I would recommend buying a winter wear when you come to Canada, because it will accommodate for the temperatures in Canada, or in any province you're going to with those temperature specifications. So that's just my recommendation. That's what I did. Because of the lack of space, firstly, in my luggage, because I was bringing like 2 or 3 suitcases full of my other clothes and my electronics, etc. And also because I thought it would be better to buy winter clothing more specific to the weather climate in my province.
Sounds good. And that is also another important point. Like, if the country you're coming from does not really have that many winter clothing options, definitely come here and buy it, because anything you buy there will not be good enough, or like will hold you warm during the winters. Okay, so we are coming a little bit closer towards the end of our show. So I'm just going to ask you both another important question. Oh, wait, we have two important questions from the audience. Okay. So that's a funny question. We'll go through that quickly. Did you pack anything you didn't end up needing? Kimsa, do you want to answer that?
That is a great question. I think, yes, that's definitely true. I think I packed a lot of things that I just keep moving from house to house that I never use. A lot of that is clothes. I packed so many clothes, but then again, like, you could donate so much of that as well. So that's what I did throughout my years in university. But yes, definitely clothes for me.
What about you, Murfa? Did you have anything interesting?
That's exactly the same thing. I consider myself a hoarder, so I hoard clothes and everything. Then I realized I have to be much more minimalistic moving forward, because I had to change my houses every year, actually. So 4 years, I had 4 houses. So every house I eventually donated most of my clothes to charities and stuff. So yeah, clothes would be the number one thing I bought way too much of, which I had to donate eventually.
Sounds good. My mom sent a whole lot of stuff with me. She sent rice cookers. She sent regular pressure cookers. She sent like aluminum and steel utensils, because, she has this thing for not eating from like China. I mean, the plates. So she was like and I didn't, because I couldn't put them in the microwave, so I couldn't use them. So that, to answer your question, Lamvi, that is what I had to end up throwing. I felt bad about it. Okay, so last question here for Kimsa and Mifra. In general, do universities and colleges provide support and resources for international students? Do they help you settle in? So I'm going to have Mifra start this time.
Again, I touched on this with some of my questions earlier, my answers earlier, but definitely UBC definitely accommodates very well for international students, not only with the events that they have planned from the beginning of the school year, but also throughout the school year. There's various events you can attend, resource groups you could reach out to, advisors you can talk to, also the professors, the TAs in your classes. They're all very willing to help you if you have any questions or concerns, or any support you require for either any personal issues you have, either mentally stressing, or if you have any issues with your particular course load. So I would say overall, not just with just your course struggles, but also personal struggles, you can reach out to anyone in UBC. There are various organizations. I can put some links in the YouTube page after, or in specifically to UBC, you can reach out to if you are struggling or if you need help as an international student. So yeah, there are various places you can reach out to, again, as I mentioned, and UBC does a great job in making it very inclusive for students coming all the way from everywhere around the world. So yes, I had a very positive experience in that regard.
Perfect. Kim, so since we're coming towards the end of the show, I'm going to ask you another question that came from our audience. This is Binod, and he's asking, buying laptop. Okay, so I guess the question is, are electronics like laptops cheaper in Canada than they are back at home? So do you recommend for students to purchase electronics back home, or do you recommend that they come here and do their research?
Yeah, totally. I think for me personally, it was cheaper to buy in Canada than home. So then that's why I decided to buy in Canada. And I think also as well, I bought it when school was just starting, and they had a lot of good deals for students. Sorry. So I think you could, especially if you're coming at around August, September time, definitely look at deals in Canada.
Perfect. That's a good tip. We do have a lot of deals here. We don't like, there aren't that many deals in other places. So that would be a point to remember, Binod. And I hope that question was answered. But yeah, I think we've come to the end of our segment. So thank you so much for joining us, Kimsa and Mifra, again. I'm really looking forward to having you back for our future episodes. Okay. So that was great. And if you guys have more questions about international education in general, do comment below. But for now, we will go to our next segment. If you remember, I briefly spoke about the CAEL test in the beginning. So if you're interested to learn more about it, join me in welcoming Brandi. So Brandi is our in-house CAEL test expert. So please feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments below about the CAEL test. And Brandi will be here every week to help you with the CAEL test. So if your question hasn't been answered today, it will be answered next week, and so on.
Yes, thank you, Ashwati. My name is Brandi, and I will be here every week to offer language tips and instruction to help support any of you that might be studying now at first-year university or college level here in Canada. And hopefully these language tips will also help support anybody that's looking to take the CAEL test. Now, the CAEL test is the Canadian Academic English Language Test, and it can be taken for two main reasons. The score on the CAEL test itself, if it's high enough, will allow any applicants entrance into a Canadian post-secondary institution. So pretty much every major Canadian college and university does accept the CAEL. There are close to 200 of them, as a matter of fact, and counting. You can see here a list of some of the more major or more well-known, I guess, schools across the country, but there are many more. So you can check out our website at cael.ca to see the full listing there by province and territory. Now, the second main reason why anybody might take the CAEL test is if they're looking to pursue a specific career. So there are many employers as well who are looking to see that their applicants meet the minimum language requirements before they're hired on. So some of the more common employers would be the ICCRC, the Real Estate Council of Alberta, TESOL Ontario, and again, many more. So you can also visit the cael.ca website and you can see a complete listing there of other professional associations. Now, in order to either pursue your career or to enter your studies at a post-secondary institution, you're going to need to take this language test, the CAEL, in order to show that your skills are strong enough to be there. So the CAEL test itself is what we call an integrated skills test. It will assess the four components of the English language, namely reading, listening, writing, and speaking. These skills are usually combined. So throughout the test itself, you might be reading an article, for example, and then speaking about what you've learned in that article, and then maybe even writing an essay about it later. So this is what we mean when we say it integrates the skills. It combines them in different sections, which is more or less what we do with language in life anyway. So the CAEL test is a good reflection of the language skills you would need, again, either for study or for work purposes here in Canada. The test itself is topic-based. So all of the reading articles, all of the listening lectures will be focused on different topics that are derived either from a first-year arts or science background. So again, you've got a few examples here in front of you. You might be reading an article, for example, all about music. And on another section of the text, you might be listening to a lecture about ecology and so on. So that's how the topics are generated from. It's what you could expect to be studying if you did attend a post-secondary school here in Canada. Now the test is a long one, as you can see. It is about 3 to 3.5 hours long, as a matter of fact. You would write it in one sitting, which is similar to what a lot of final exams would look like at the Canadian post-secondary level anyway. The CAEL test itself is divided into 5 different parts. Part 1 is the only part of this test where you're speaking only. You've got 3 questions to answer verbally, and then you move on to the integrated sections. So from parts 2 to 5, you'll notice these little red brackets here on our screen, and they're demonstrating the different skills that you will be integrating together for each part of the test. So in part 2, for example, you'd be reading and then speaking about what you've read. Part 3, you'll be listening and speaking. And in parts 4 and 5, you're no longer speaking, but you're doing the other 3 core components of reading, listening, and writing. Now in part 4, you will be writing a long essay type question. In part 5, you will be writing a shorter response that would be about a paragraph in structure. So before we go into the CAEL test, it's really important that we have a very strong foundation in writing with complex sentence structure, with paragraph writing skills, and with essay writing skills. And starting next week and every Thursday, I'm going to be giving little mini lessons. We're starting with the writing components to, again, support anybody that's currently studying at a post-secondary school, or those of you looking to do well on the CAEL test and then begin your studies then. As I mentioned earlier, this is a topic-based test. Each part will have a different topic. So if you're reading about music in part 2, you would be listening to something different in part 3. Again, maybe criminology or something to that effect. You don't have to have any background knowledge on the topics themselves. The CAEL test is a language test. So all of the information that you'll be using to formulate your answers on the test are going to come from what you're reading about and listening to on the test itself. Okay, so don't worry about preparing all of these topic-based ideas. It would be impossible to prepare for all of them. There are so many. What you need to do is come into the test with very strong language skills, and then you'll be prepared, we hope, to answer all the questions that are asked of you. Now, the test itself is scored on a scale, and we call them bands. So we start at a 10 at the low end, as you can see. This would be somebody that's just starting out and learning the language. And at the high end, at the top of the chart, is a band 90. This is the highest score anybody can achieve, and it shows expert proficiency in the English language. It's very hard to achieve, even for native speakers. The average score that most schools and most employers are looking for would be about a band 70. All right, and that won't be the same across all schools and all employers. Each school and each boss will create their own minimum requirements. So it's really up to you, the individual test taker, to do your own research and double check with the schools that you're applying to, or again, the employers that you're applying to see what score they're looking for specifically. But as a general rule, 70 is about average for many of them. And if you look at what a band 70 achieves, it shows that you've got adept proficiency. And adept usage of the language means you've already got a pretty strong foundation in your skills, but you're still developing some skills in areas of weakness. And that makes sense, because if you consider starting off your university studies, you'll probably be there for a couple of years. So over the time of your studies or over your time at work, you will hopefully develop your skills further and improve upon them. So you might start at the 70 and then climb that scale as you go. All right, now there are 2 ways that you can actually take this test. This way is sort of the longer standing version of the test, and it's delivered completely online, but at a test center. So you would access the CAEL.ca website and you would look for the next available sittings in a city nearest to you, wherever you live in the world. So people would actually go to the physical test center, like you see here. This is a picture of Vancouver's head office, and you would be given your own individual workstation with the computer in front of you. You'd be wearing a headset, and that's what you'll listen to for the instructions and the lectures. And that microphone you see attached there is how you're going to record your spoken answers. All right, you never meet with a human examiner for the CAEL test. All parts of the test are done online, just like you see here. Now, I will say that this picture was taken in the fall of 2019. So as we all know, with the current pandemic, we have to observe social distancing measures. So currently, many of our test centers are opened again in the world, but you would never be seated side by side with another test taker. We always observe the best health practices. So there would be empty seats between you and 6 meters or 6 feet rather of minimum space. All the sanitization is done, And test takers right now will be required to wear a mask in order to sit safely to do the test. So please keep that in mind if you are looking to take the test this summer and into the fall. Okay, and that might change depending on what we hear from the health directives going on. But for now, that's where we're at. This is the exciting program that I wanted to also mention. You're still taking the test on a computer, but we're calling it CAEL Online because some people are able to do this now from the comfort of their own home. So you can go to the cael.ca website to see how you would register and to understand more about the program. But instead of going into the testing center, you could take the test from home. This is a brand new program. It's been around about 3 weeks now. It just started in the middle of July, and it is starting here in Canada because the CAEL is a Canadian test. So it's been rolled out here and will be rolled out, of course, into the States and then overseas as well. So if on the website, when you're going to register, if this program is not yet available in wherever you live in the world, just be patient. It takes time, as you might imagine, to get the technology rolled globally across all available countries. But that's our end goal, is to have it at a city or country near you in the near future. All right, and it's been received very positively from the people so far who have taken it. So that's an exciting option, particularly in the face of this pandemic. So I'm going to leave you there. I wanted to just introduce this CAEL test to you today because, as I mentioned, yeah, a lot of us would need to take a language proficiency test anyway, whether you're entering school or pursuing work. So now you know a little bit more about how this test, the CAEL, is structured if you're studying for it. If you've got any questions, please feel free to either type them there in the live feed or leave them at the bottom of the screen there for us to receive after this episode airs live. Or you can send any questions to our Instagram and so on. We'd love to hear from you because I'll be back, as I say, each week. And any questions that you send us now and over the course of the week, I'll be happy to answer if I can next time. Okay, so I will leave it at that. And thank you for joining us. I will be back next week to continue with some language instruction, focusing on writing as we begin. Take care, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you, Brandi. I hope that gave you guys a little more info on the CAEL test. And for those of you asking specific questions about how to improve reading and what are the desired scores, this whole series was made for international students and for the CAEL test. So if we weren't able to answer your question today, we would definitely be going through that in the weeks to come. So please stay tuned. We also have tips prepared for you on essay writing, paragraph writing, sentence structure, and plenty more. So please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Now, if you remember, I asked you a question in the beginning about a quote, and the quote was, "The medium is the message." So I'm going to go over the answer right now. The medium is the message was said by Marshall McLuhan, and Marshall McLuhan was a philosopher. He wrote it in his book, Understanding Media, The Extensions of Man. Now, the reason I said that communication students might know this is because this is very specifically talking about our current digital time. I mean, he wrote this book way before, but it is still relevant now. Studies have shown that our memory spans have reduced due to digital technology. News stories have been replaced with 140 characters. New conversations have been replaced with emojis. So this quote, "The medium is the message," basically talks about the fact that the medium through which the content is carried plays a very important role in the way it is perceived. You might already know this, even if you're not a communication student. The things you say on Facebook will be totally different from the things you type in on Twitter, and vice versa with Instagram, Snapchat, etc. The medium places a filter on a message in a way that significantly influences how the message is interpreted. So I already mentioned this, but a good example is Twitter. You have 280 characters limit on Twitter, and that forces people to be quick and to the point, oftentimes sacrificing a lot of context in the process. We have all experienced that. So that was the quote, and there was a little bit of information behind it. We will be exploring more subjects this way. So if you're interested in any specific subject, do let us know below, and we will talk about that. So I think it's now time to go to our CAEL test news updates. So I touched on this briefly before, but the CAEL test can now be taken at home in Canada. You can register via the link in the description below. It is a 3.5-hour test that needs to be taken in a private room if you're taking it at home. And your scores can be sent to 5 Canadian institutions of your choice for no added cost. I know that many of you who are commenting below and who are engaging with us are not exactly currently in Canada, and we are going as fast as we can to make sure that an online option is open near you. So one thing you can do is enter your email ID into the notification bar on our website, cael.ca. When you go to cael.ca, you will see a red headline box at the top of our page. Please enter your email ID there and you will be notified if an online testing option is open in your area. I'm really excited about this because this opens so many doors for international education. And along with that, we have more great news. We also provide CAEL scholarships for international students. So we just finished a round last month and we'll be announcing our winners soon. But the CAEL scholarship will award 2 international students with 5,000 Canadian dollars each towards their tuition. So that's a total of $10,000 and it will be divided among 2 international students. You can find more of this information in our description below as well. But one of the only things you need to do is write an essay to qualify. So please stay tuned to get updates about the scholarship as well. And that's it for our news updates. For our next episode on the 13th, we will invite representatives from different universities and colleges in Canada. So the people who asked us questions about specific colleges or about universities, please join us next week. We will have a few representatives from few specific colleges. You can also connect with us on social media. We keep our Facebook and IG accounts pretty up to date, so do consider following us there as well. And again, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and click on the bell icon to receive prompt notifications. But until then, please take care and I will see you on our next episode. Bye.